Andrea, first of all, how are you doing?
Um, it's the morning. I'm excited to talk to you.
So, a lot of people that are seeing the interview are doesn't know who are you, but Andrea, can you give us a TLDR of what what have you done in the WWE 2K series so far?
Sure. So I started writing for the franchise for WWE 2K22. And I've been with the game ever since. So obviously, sequentially, 23, 24, and now 25. I wrote for My Rise up through those games. And then for 25, I did a lot of the world building and then the story for the island, which, as you know, is still ongoing. It has yet to be concluded for this year. So some fun things coming up as well as what's already been released.
Let's talk about the Iceland because the Iceland has been one big feature. It has a lot of history, a lot of quests, but one of the most recent quests they that 2K added is the Bray Wyatt expansion with the Wyatt Sicks.
Hmm.
And how was the inspiration on bringing the the mind or the world of the Wyatt Sicks into the Iceland?
Sure. Well, I think in general, the idea to bring them to the space was a little bit natural, right? Because we're building this larger than life atmosphere where it's a little bit like a theme park, but not exactly. You know, we have this whole concept of Roman's Challenge, and the Wyatt Six as a whole are a larger than life group. I mean, you've had groups like that in the past, but they're really exemplify. You know, what is it that's a little bit more, a little bit exaggerated? Um, and honestly, we had been looking for something to do with some of the unreleased footage that we had recorded with Bray Wyatt for a little bit. We had originally had some footage that we'd recorded for 2K22. We had plans to actually reuse it for 2K24, and for reasons obviously that didn't work
Yeah.
out, that didn't pan out. And when the Wyatt Six reappear in on WWE programming, there were a couple of lines in some of the Bo Dallas promos that really stuck with me and gave inspiration for a kind of unique way to reuse that footage and put it into the island in a way that was a little bit unique. And that was kind of the impetus to bring the Wyatt Six into the island and do something that I truly felt was a story that only our video game could tell. Um, and the question behind it was, you know, what can we do that, and not in a bad way, but that WWE couldn't do on their programming, because what do we have as a video game that they can't leverage? And that was a little bit of the challenge that was presented, or at least I guess we presented to ourselves
Yeah.
as, you know, a video game.
So you were looking back to the footage of 2K 2022, and and you ended the storyline with a nice touching tribute and a great send off to uh Bray Wyatt as a character and as a human that I I, I was really touched about how do you made that. You were surprised and in getting that line, like saying like him saying goodbye to the fans without knowing it a few years before.
And I'll always watch out for you. You've done so much for me. Goodbye, for now.
Yeah, no, I mean that was from a recording session in 2022. And you know, honestly, like listening to what we had, like I knew we had a story based on what we had recorded, you know, because I had the written lines that we had from 22. And when was time to sit down to write the thing, I was like, you know what, I'm going to listen to everything. I'm going to see what we have. I'm going to listen and see like what we're going to use, what makes sense. And listening to the full breadth of what we had and hearing the things that he said, you know, in between the takes, that was kind of the moment where I was like, okay, there's something else in here. There's something else that we have to use, we have to share, because for me that's part of the story. Because I mean, for players that have played the story, they know that there's more to it than just the Bray Wyatt character that comes out. Kind of what you said, there's the person behind the character, and that's part of the story that we tell. The story of the two brothers, the story of, you know, what he meant to his family, what he meant to the fans, and, you know, that whole idea of what sort of legacy you leave on a personal level, on a more global level when you have a fandom like that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of levels that can work out on, and it was kind of a striking moment coming across that particular audio clip.
Do you have any video recording or yours audio of
Uh,
that recording?
yeah, no, that was just an audio recording. I mean,
Ah,
we do the way that we put together our cutscenes. We do audio recording with our superstars. That's usually the way it goes. We very rarely get video recording of that. We sometimes do, but yeah, it's just audio recording. But
I don't know. I know it's not my place, but it would be fun, like having a cheap webcam just to record, like WWE has, just in case. Because moments like this are really touching. Because I think everyone were at his last Royal Rumble match. It was a really weird match, to be honest, and it, like Bad Bunny says, like, debí tomar más photos. Like, I had to take more photos because uh life unfortunately takes some weird turns, and video games tends to expand storytelling and bringing people to life again. So you we were talking about the deleted content in 2022. How have you talked about what were gonna be that storyline that Bray Wyatt was going to have?
You know, it's interesting because we haven't. I don't think anyone from the WWE 2K side has actually ever talked about this publicly. There's definitely been talk about it publicly, which is one of the other reasons why we thought that this would be a really cool thing to drop. I think someone found some files once, and, you know, one of the people who goes in and looks at what's sort of hidden in the game. But yeah, I know we had Bray featured in the 22 storyline in a pretty big way in both the men's and the women's division storylines. As you know, 22 didn't have quite the same structure that My Rise has in right now. So they were kind of larger but one-off storylines featuring Bray Wyatt and the Fiend in different scenarios. And you know, it wasn't the sort of thing where it felt right to us to just like bring those stories, just, you know, put them in the game as they were. You know, I think the thing that is a little bit interesting that I don't think we've talked about before, and I mentioned briefly, is that we did have plans to bring one of those stories and modify it just a little bit and put it in 2K24. So that was going to be a big thing that were going to do before he unfortunately passed away. The men's storyline from 2K22, there were plans to repurpose it and get a couple new voice lines to make that work in the story for 2K24, and unfortunately that didn't pan out. There was no way to support that based on, you know, the timing of everything and his
Yeah.
unfortunate passing. But yeah, they were featuring the Fiend. You know, you saw some of the cutscenes, some of the lines in the Wyatt Sicks storyline. There was also a women's division storyline that featured some female superstars as well as Bray Wyatt. We were going to do an elimination chamber match featuring I believe it was like multiple creatures that were associated with the Fiend. You know, real
With the puppets, with the
it wasn't
creatures.
going to be the Firefly puppets because they're a little too small to fight, to
I
put
mean,
it very very simply.
a little bit oversized,
Sure,
like
sure.
you do
This
with.
this was before we saw the life size versions when Bray Wyatt returned, and yeah, they were gonna be video game weird shit, to put it in the best way I can. But yeah, I don't want to say too much about it because, you know, I just want to, on our franchise, you never know what might come back
Yeah.
around, so I don't want to spoil everything that, you know, no promises, but may or may not come back around. So
What we are gonna see soon from the Iceland?
well, as if you've been playing the story, you know that there's been a cliffhanger at the end of chapter 3. Chapter 4 is coming very soon. I think you'll see the resolution of that cliffhanger, but will there be more shenanigans up on the island? I think so. And I will say, I think, before the end of the year, we're going to have a real whiz bang finish that's going to be pretty exciting for fans. And I can't speak too much about the future, but I think one thing that's very unique about the island is that we're hoping that there's going to be some continuity, more than just within a year of gameplay. And that is all that I will say about that.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Yeah, thank you, Manny. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.